Welcome to the Revelation Podcast. Today I have a real OG with me today. Not just that old guy, but the legendary old guy. Anyway, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fine. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So the reason why I wanted to have you on because I wanted to talk to you about the election that has transpired and the fact that we now have our 46th president that is on the way, President-elect, former Vice President Joe Biden.
Sounds good to me.
Facts, facts. So as you know, he got 270 votes, over 214 votes by President Trump. So do you think that there's going to be a smooth transition of power? Is that you think that's going to be one of his first steps as
Well,
president, getting to the road to presidency, that transitional period?
to be honest, I'm not really sure, only because of the narcissist that previously occupied the people's house. So, given his history, given his comments over the last 4 years, and he's conducted business like it's a television show. So,
Well, you know, he went from the apprentice to the White House, so this time, apparently, he wasn't America's most eligible this time, unfortunately.
no, I mean, over close to 71 million people voted for him, and over 74 voted for Joe Biden.
Hmm.
And that in itself is historical because Biden garnered the most votes ever by any candidate running for the office of president. So, although he has 70 million supporters out there, and I would wager to guess that probably 55, maybe 60% of those will still stick by him. I don't think his ego will allow him to depart 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in an honorable manner. It's just not
The
in him.
is the last time that this happened, George H.W. Bush lost the election to incoming President Bill Clinton, but he actually welcomed Mr. Clinton to the White House. What for you, since you've been around, what was the biggest difference seeing H.W. Bush leaving the office and Clinton transition to power? How was that?
Well, for me, it was just what presidents historically have always done. You get beat, you congratulate the opponent, and you
Mhm.
leave with honor.
That's what they've
And once
always
again,
done.
it's the way it is. And up until this election, obviously, 45 has no honor, no compassion, no empathy, doesn't have a clue. So I do expect there will be some hijinks going on before he departs. For me, I'd love to see the powers that be have to come in, put the cuffs on him, and give him a perk walk out of the White House. But that's only me.
Well, let's ask the first tough question before we go back to President Obama's presidency. As you are aware, during the Watergate scandal, former President Gerald Ford acquitted President Nixon of his crimes. Do you believe that President elect to be Mr. President Joe Biden will acquit President Trump of his crimes, or do you feel there's too much damage done?
The damage is done. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. I mean, anytime you play the dozens
Hmm.
and you're chastising family and you bring family into the mud, there's going to be some hard feelings. So Joe Biden has a reputation of being a gentleman, but I don't see him being a gentleman when it comes to 45 and some of the comments that he's made in the past that were aimed at Hunter And I just don't think it'll happen. And I don't think he'll grant him a pardon. He doesn't deserve a pardon. Now, the thing is, can 45 pardon himself before he leaves the office? And that's debatable.
Well, one of the things that I see, even with President Nixon was man enough to apologize and he resigned. And like you said, I don't necessarily see him leaving office without contesting the votes, which he does have a legal right to.
Oh, sure,
But
he has a right. He has a
mhm,
right. And that's all well and good. I mean,
and the
but
biggest thing,
go ahead,
biggest,
Dwayne.
my bad. The biggest thing that that I always tell everybody, like I actually discussed today, outside of work with somebody, is that he is still eligible for a second term. And I told everyone just because we have President Biden about to assume office doesn't mean that President Trump will not have the opportunity to come back, because he does. And I remind people that, just like when President Obama became the 44th president, we had somebody new, fresh. We had somebody innovative that was willing to push the ideas. And I told, this individual was telling me, well, President Obama didn't really get much done. And I said, you have to realize something. When he originally went into office, the Democrats had both the Senate and the House. Then, when he got reelected, because a lot of people felt, well, okay, let's stop him. Let's really make him a one-term president. He even said, I'd rather be in effect. President Obama said, I'd rather be an effective one-term president than be a two-term president. And one of the things that, I was researching, Mitch McConnell was saying that back when George W. Bush, the 43rd president, was in office, that one of the things that he noticed that helped get Bush elected again was the fact that the Democrats and Republicans were working together. And I said President Obama didn't have that. They fought him tooth for nail and had to constantly invoke the nuclear option and filibuster President Obama's nominations. And it was a nail and tooth to fight for everything. He couldn't get his final Supreme Court nomination through. And as you've seen, they pushed through with President Trump's third nomination, which is itself, is a total embarrassment compared to what they said last time when, when President Obama was sitting in his final year, and then to push our new justice through. But it's just so much. And I think back, he always said, President Trump said he wished Obama never should have ran, or he only wanted to be a one-term president. And now, as of right now, he's that one-term president.
Oh, well said, Dwayne. Well said.
Mm-hmm.
But if we harken back to 2009, after the
Mm-hmm.
2008 election,
Mm-hmm.
Barack Obama, after being sworn in on the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, he held it upright. He knew which side was up.
Mm-hmm.
And said, I do. Mitch McConnell and his cronies stated the fact that when Obama said, I do, they said, you won't. And they did everything they possibly could to derail anything that Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and the Democratic Party sent to Mitch McConnell in the Senate. Now, when President Obama ran in for the second term and won in 2012 over Mitt Romney, all that stuff with one-term president went out the window and made them even more aggressive in terms of setting roadblocks that Obama and the Democratic Party could not get through. And you referred to Mayor Garland, and the way that the Trump administration railroaded their appointment for the Supreme Court in hopes to have a 6-3 conservative Supreme Court. And one of 45's campaign topics during those COVID caravans he was holding was basically, you know, opposed to what was the term? Stuffing the Supreme Court or something to that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So I told him it was totally unfair. And let me elaborate a little bit more in terms of President Obama's presidency.
Mm-hmm.
In the 8 years that Barack Obama sat in the White House, not one scandal, not one breaking of the law as written, not as spoken by the Republican opponents, that he did this and did that. Not one time was there any form of what we just witnessed for the last 4 years.
If you don't mind, I actually have to contest that. I have to contest that, unfortunately.
Your show, bro. Go ahead.
You're right. So speaking of a show, let me turn to the Noah Trevor show, and he count down as President Trump highlighted the fact President Obama has so many scandals in his office that shook and rocked the nation. And as a black man, I was very disappointed to find out that he did this. Let me tell you what he did. He had the audacity to be a black man in office. Every single thing he did
You sound like
was a
Kamala Harris.
scandal. Was a scandal. And so when I was watching the Noah Trevor show, I was thinking, I said, wow. I said, can you believe all the things that people made a scandal out about the fact that he did? And I'm just like, hold on, I'm not bad. Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah. I had to make sure I say that right. So if you watch this, I do apologize. And I was just thinking about the fact that every single move he made was a scandal. Every single move he made was a scandal. And it's just like, give him a break. And my thing,
Yeah,
like I
well,
tell people, just because I am of African American descent does not mean that I agree with everything our former 44th president did. But at the same time, you have to remember, and I tell people, I said, the Republicans, especially during his second term, the Republicans led by Senator and Majority Leader Mitch McConnell blocked him and invoked the nuclear option every single time and delivered filibuster after filibuster after filibuster. Everything he did, he had to fight for. And so I say you have to realize something, people. It's the it's the it's federal, it's state, and it's local government. It's a trickle down effect. And you have to remember that the only way for the president to be effective, he has to have the federal and state and even local behind him to push policies. If he doesn't, then he cannot be an effective president. The fact that he got done as much as he did shows you how effective he could be. But at the same time, if you get a president like 44, you get 45th.
oh yeah, and now we have 46. So
46.
we all good. You
Said
know,
I told people, I said, I don't always get super political. I said, I don't mind speaking my mind. I said, just because I might disagree with somebody, don't mean I'm a bash them. But I said, you know what? I said we can forget about these last 4 years. I don't even know what the number. I don't even know what's that number between 44 and 46. I don't know. I can't think of it right now. My memory getting foggy. I'm sorry, podcast.
your mind playing
Yeah,
tricks
like
on you, huh?
I can't think of what was that number. Can you
46.
think? 46. Yeah, 46. Yeah, we got the 46th president. Like,
Because we're counting by twos, man.
yeah, counting by twos, and I'm interested to see how a change in foreign policy is going to be to see if America will stick with their traditional allies and to see who will rejoin some of these treaties. Um, but most importantly, I'm interested to see during President Biden's 100 days how is he going to combat COVID-19. To me, that's going to
Well,
be the real challenge.
Well, that's what I understand is his primary focus. As a matter of fact, tomorrow he is announcing the forming of a COVID-19 committee.
Mhm.
Hopefully, he'll have Dr. Fauci heading that. And from what I also understand, it's going to be um, scientists, economists, um, people from various parts in this country to sit on a committee to
Mhm.
combat COVID 19. Because let's be real, over 250,000 lives have been lost. Now, I don't blame 45 for the virus.
There's
My
that
problem
number.
with
It's 45. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. I wasn't really good at math, and when you count by twos, you can't go back to 45, the odd number.
It's
But
fine. It's fine. We got to talk about the elephant in the room. We're gonna get to the
yeah,
GOP. We're gonna
and
get to
it's
the
a
GOP.
large pachyderm, I must say. But
Hmm.
in order for our economy to come back, in order for our kids to go back to school, and you and I have both been affected directly. You as a student, me as an employee of Morris College,
Hmm.
and that's interrupted your educational growth,
Hmm.
along with millions of other young people like yourself, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, who are attending, third levels of education, who aren't getting the education that they need. But more so, that's more critical to the kids in high school, junior high, and especially elementary school, that they get back to school, which helps the economy because the parents who have been teachers now and they really understand what a great job teachers do because they've had to be the teachers now, um, to enable them to go back to work, to enable them to get dollars back in their pocket, back in their homes, to facilitate the needs for their families. So that's the number one thing that he has to combat. And I think by forming, although they'll have no power until, you know, 20 January 2021 to implement these programs, the fact that they're addressing it now, and once they get into the White House, they are able to hit the ground running. And I hope some of those who were um, besmirching the reputation of Dr. Fauci and Dr. Baxter and the head of the CDC, who had an epiphany later on, um, and they'll work together to come up
Hmm.
with a strategy to address this. And I mean, that's all we can really focus on right now because a lot of people are dying. And you can't spend money, you can't have the benefits of an economy if you're dead. It's simple.
You're
I try to
absolutely
make
right.
I try to make things simple. If you're dead, you can't spend your money because we used to say you can't take it with you. And in these days and times, it's more prevalent than ever that that statement stands true. So, in order for us to prosper and move forward, COVID
Mhm.
has to be the main focus of the incoming Biden administration.
Another big question for me is, can the Biden administration bring the GOP and Democratic Party together? Because another thing that we have to look at, the fact is coming into next year and going into 2022, there's also elections coming up for more seats in both the House and the Senate. So I'm hoping that these elected officials will put some of their grudges aside to do not just what's good for the economy and do good for themselves and tackle this issue. Let us be unified for this front. We might not agree on everything, but let us conquer COVID. Let us end this storm and move on to prosper. Let's truly make America great again, like President Reagan said.
Right.
Yeah.
Ronnie Reagan. Yeah, true. And just to piggyback on to something you just said, the critical Senate races in Georgia on January 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's 48-48 for the battle for the Senate. Now, in the House, unfortunately, the blue wave did not materialize.
Mm-hmm.
And the seats they thought they would cop, they didn't get. Matter of fact, they lost a couple of seats, but they're still in power in the House.
Mm-hmm.
but 48-48 in the Senate, if the Democratic Party can snatch those two seats from Purdue and the lady, I think she owns a WNBA team in Atlanta, or she's one of those um, cons- conspiracy conspiracy theorists. I'm not sure which one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
We can get those seats. It's 48-48. It'll be 50-50. And what better way than the first African American woman, the first Indian woman, Vice President Kamala Harris, will be the deal breaker to make it 51-50. Then you will have the Senate and the House controlled by the Democratic Party.
Since you brought that up, the just to make sure I have a clear understanding, 'cause I still gotta go back, check my notes, and do my research. Won't
Mhm.
her seat also be up? 'Cause if I'm not mistaken, isn't she the current junior senator from California? So her seat will be available too, right? Or will her vote count too? Or will
Well,
there be two
uh,
votes?
well, I would assume since California is predominantly a blue state, whatever election, if there is an election to be held for that vacated seat, that it would be filled by a Democrat. I would think. I don't know. But in terms of her being the tiebreaker, now that she is the vice president and she shattered the glass ceiling, and her speech last night was right on point when she said she may be the first, but she will not be the last woman to occupy the White House. And to
Mhm.
see the young women from all ethnic groups having the opportunity to look up and see a woman of color in such a prestigious position of power will certainly generate hope that they can be whatever they want to be. And
Most
they have the
definitely.
opportunity to be that, as it should be. But the
She
last
was
4 years has kind of besmirched that thought in a lot of people's minds.
so for me also I look at it, Joe Biden's presidential journey. This was his third attempt at being president,
Right.
at being president. And, sometimes people forget that Donald Trump has actually attempted to be president on multiple occasions. This was actually, even though he had one successful bid, this was actually what his fourth bid for his first bid for reelection and his fourth time running for president. If I'm not mistaken, I have to probably go back and fact check that just to make sure. But also, speaking of third time's a charm, there were two other attempts by women to become the vice president, and Kamala Harris was the third woman to do it and
Shirley,
was successfully. Hmm?
Shirley Chisholm was one, I
And
think.
the former governor of Alaska, something a pail in a bucket. I mean Sarah Palin. My apologies.
Oh yeah,
My
Sarah
apologies.
Palin, yeah. But she could see she could see Russia from her porch. So she said, but
I'm anxious to see. I'm anxious to see the country as a whole heal from racist rhetoric. I want people to really unify and truly show people why we as America are always first. And speaking of first, before we get to the Supreme Court, do you feel that President Trump's America's First policy was effective, or do you feel that our our foreign allies are ready for America to start paying the dollar again?
well, I think if Biden is wise, he'll go back and extend his hand, the olive branch, so to speak, to our allies who were ready to go it on their own based on their perception of what 45 was all about.
Mhm.
And if any indication of that, it's in the response from Germany, Great Britain, France, Canada, and several other of our former, which are still allies, um, appreciation for the 74 million plus votes that instilled Joe Biden and Kamala Harris back into the White House. And I think they're looking forward to the reunification of our friendships and alliances around the world.
Do you think that Brexit is no longer an option for the UK, or do you feel that now that America is healing, Britain is also going to decide, you know what, we're not going to exit, we need to stay?
Yeah, well, I'm going to be honest with you. It's like the Matrix. I never understood the Matrix, and I really don't understand Brexit. So
I
if you
like
can enlighten
Brexit,
me,
not Brexit. So
whatever it is, I
uh,
don't know what I don't
the
know.
one of UK's premier leaders, Boris Johnson,
Yeah,
wanted to have the Britain leave one of the European unions, but I feel like they're going to end up staying. So back to the shore, well, a little bit over to another shore instead of back to our shores. Do you feel that part of President Trump's redemption is going to be working with President Biden to keep the leader of North Korea and to keep Russia off of our backs? Or do you feel that due to the fact that President Trump is leaving office, tensions between North Korea, Russia, and even Iran are going to be tense again?
they never stopped being tense because there was a lot of fake news coming from the podium during the press conferences about the denials and this, that, and the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're still trying to do um, dirt. They're
Mm-hmm.
still trying to administer hurt and pain to this country. So I don't trust them. And I know Joe Biden is going to be extremely careful, gracious in his dealing with those adversaries. But I don't think they'll ever be our friend. They
Well,
never were.
well, getting back to people who aren't our friends, do you feel that Georgia is truly on the way to being our friend again? Do you feel that Stacey Abrams will be able to take the governorship that eluded her, and that she would personally, I feel she was cheated out of the governorship in Georgia? Because the last time
Well,
Georgia was blue was Jimmy Carter's time as governor, right?
right. But
Hmm.
I think the vote in Georgia was a referendum for Stacey Abrams based on the fact that many in Georgia, Caucasian and African Americans, thought that she was robbed of the governorship when she ran 2.5 years ago. And I think if you look at the way they voted and the amount of money that was poured into South Carolina in the Jamie Harrison Lindsey Graham election was a lot. There's going to be a lot of dollars trickling in to Georgia. And now that the Democratic Party seems more unified, I think they are really going to go full bore when it comes to putting those two candidates in power in Georgia. That's how I feel.
I think that the Democratic Party is somewhat splintered, just like the Republican Party, due to ideologic ideological. How can I speak right? My bad.
Yeah, I
Ideological.
know what you're saying. They're I mean, I'm having
Yeah,
a
ideology is
ideology. Yeah,
yeah. And I think that,
yeah. I mean,
for both parties to move forward, they have to decide, let's take the best. Let's use this. For the Republicans, let's make sure that we keep our conservative values. We might have some values from the Tea Party. Let's keep our free trade views. Democrat, let's be open. Still be open. Let's get our ideas correct. I tell people, you do have to have a Republican Party to oppose the Democrats to make sure that you keep the parties in check. You don't want to just have one party. you need two different views, but at the same time, you want to make sure that your views are aligned with the party who is best suited for you. In
Right.
these
That's
past 4 years, chaos, man. So speaking,
yes, it's
well,
crazy.
you mentioned Jamie Harris. For me, I think the biggest reason why he was defeated due to the fact that Lindsey Graham was a chairman of one of the committees in the Senate, and due to the fact that Lindsey Graham had a lot of political power and pull in South Carolina. It's been a long time since South Carolina has been blue. A very
Sure.
long.
And it's South Carolina. you know, it's South Carolina. As Georgia was Georgia. But we saw the Democratic Party make inroads in Texas. We saw the Democratic Party make inroads in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
States historically known as red states.
Mm-hmm.
So the demographics are changing. It's younger, more multiracial, more highly educated. So I think the
So
people will go ahead.
when you talk about the people, which brings me why I wanted to cut you off. I think about the fact that a lot of people were shocked that Arizona turned blue. That shocked a lot of people. Would you care to elaborate on why you think Arizona turned blue?
Sure, Arizona and a couple other people, like I alluded to with Stacey Abrams referendum.
Mm-hmm.
John McCain, who is a hero. John McCain, who spent 5.5 years in the Hotel Hanoi, refused to go home, although he was an officer and his father was an admiral in the Navy. He refused to leave captivity until all the other prisoners were released. He's
The
from
courage
Arizona.
that that man had, yeah, people, no matter that he was Caucasian, it don't matter he a Republican,
It,
like you
it
said, a hero.
is a hero, period. And when 45 besmirched the man's reputation, he hurt the feelings of Arizona's native son. And like we talked yesterday, and I won't get into the verbiage, but payback is a dog. And Arizona going blue is a referendum for John McCain. May he rest in peace, along with
Mm-hmm.
Elijah Cummings, John Lewis, Ruth Gator, RGB,
Ginsburg,
Gene
Ginsburg,
Ginsburg, um,
RGB, John Lewis, who's also from
John Lewis,
Arizona.
who I mentioned, Elijah
Mm-hmm.
Cummings,
Mm-hmm.
and John McCain can
Mm-hmm.
look down, may they rest in peace, and know that the people have spoken. So that's one of the main reasons. But like I said, God don't like ugly. 45 besmirched a lot of people. He dogged women. He dogged NFL players. He had his cronies on Fox News, Laura Ingraham, talking to LeBron about shut up and dribble.
I'm sorry I laughed about that. I'm just thinking about the fact that, and the reason why I laugh, uh, LeBron James, I don't know if you heard about it, but LeBron actually posted a picture of him pulled from one of his first games when he first won one of his championships dunk. It had President Obama and Joe Biden dunking on Trump.
I
And I also think
hadn't seen
about
that.
in the NFL how Colin Kaepernick, how he said ban him, get him out of here. Even this past year, South Carolina and my hometown of Florence, dude, NFL, I can't remember the NFL player name, went out to eat at Buffalo Wild Wings, and somebody disrespected him and tried to, issue racist slurs towards him. Ended up losing his job over that. And it don't matter if you're black or white. Trump didn't give a crap. You either
No.
on my side or you're not.
Well, see,
Look at the fact he fired his cabinet. He went after President Obama countless times. A lot of people talked about he wasn't friends with the Clintons. Yes, he was. Do your research. He was
yeah,
friends with the Clintons.
yep, he was. And for the viewers or listening to your podcast, I'm a New Yorker, born and raised in New York. I have a friend. We do a podcast. We used to, but with COVID, we can't all get together in the same room. But one of our panel members is a staunch Republican. He's a good friend of mine, you know. And he always asked me why I hated Trump. I don't hate anybody because hate's a bad word. I disrespect him because I'm old enough, being the original OG on your show, um, to identify with the Central Park Five. That happened 30 miles from where I grew up in New York. I'm familiar with his redlining policies because I have an African American couple who, back in the day, were making six figures as a doctor. His wife was a lawyer, wanted to rent an apartment on the Upper East Side. And they had the money, but they didn't have this color. And they were discriminated against. I remember his casinos in Atlantic City, where he came out and said he did not want black people handling his money. He'd much rather have little short men with yarmulkes handling his money. So there's been a history of his racist comments that soured me on him a long time ago.
And I think that, it's funny that you said your friend was a Republican. A lot of people tend to forget, especially in this day and age, that a lot of African American people at one point were predominantly members of the Republican Party.
That's right.
And the other thing that people tend to forget is that Donald Trump supported Democratic candidates. Donald Trump also was an independent. The only reason why he ran as a Republican, well, first time let's try it as a Democrat, then let's try it as independent. Oh, Republican next. Republican next. Because regardless, if he would have ran, which I think would have been interesting if he would have ran as a Democrat, what if he would have ran as a Democrat and beat Hillary? And then who knows he would have faced on the Republican side. The fact is, people do not hate President Trump because he is a Republican. I don't personally I don't personally hate the man myself as somebody who one of my earliest members was a Republican. It wasn't really till I got to my current school that, a professor broke it down for me. He said, Dwayne, he said, let me tell you what conservatism is. Let me tell you what being a liberal is. Let me tell you being an independent. I said that back in high school. My coach, one of my coaches told me, he said, look, this is the chart. Pull something out. He said, look at this. So as a young kid in high school, I'm looking like, wow, they flip flop a lot. They flip flop. They ideologically flip flop. It is, George Bush was saying in one of his interviews that Presidents Ronald Reagan and his own father, George H.W. Bush, will have a hard time being in this Republican Party. Personally, I think they would be ashamed to see what their party came to from Abraham Lincoln to Donald Trump.
Oh,
And
definitely agree.
I have a lot of friends who are Republicans, a lot of people who like Trump. When I sit around them, we don't man, I tell them, I said, for me, tell some of them, I said, look, I went to school with y'all. I said a lot of y'all were more of my friends than I had friends of African American descent. I said, I'm not about to sit here and deny the fact that a lot of y'all, I said most of y'all still are my friends to this day. So one of my best friends is of Asian descent and the other one is of Caucasian descent. I told him, I said, I'll never disagree with you. I said, the only thing that I've ever said is that I don't agree with him promoting racist rhetoric. That has been my whole thing about it. I do not hate him. All I'm saying is this. I said, look at what he has done to people that were his allies. I said, he used to support people, like I mentioned, Hillary. You look at John McCain's funeral. John McCain did not want his former running mate, Alaskan Governor Sarah Palin, and he didn't want Donald Trump at his funeral. He had his own political rival, the man who he lost the election to, Barack Obama, give a eulogy alongside former President George W. Bush. That says a lot. If I lost to you and I have you give a eulogy as opposed to let me attack the character. Anybody that has been in the armed service is a hero because a lot of people cannot make it. These people go through tremendous things to protect our freedom. And you sit here dogging somebody who risks his life, as you just gave the story. The last man wanted to be the last man there. He stayed. Do you know how many people, if they say, look, I'm holding you hostage, your father has a high position, you can go, and you say no, that takes balls.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I mean, it all comes down to personal integrity. And the gentleman you just so eloquently spoke of, John McCain, had that quality. Joe Biden has that quality. Now, I've grown up, the first president I was aware of was Dwight D. Eisenhower, a Republican. Then there was Ronald Reagan, a Republican. Richard
JFK.
Milhouse, huh?
Wait,
Richard
after, yeah.
Richard Milhouse Nixon, the crook, a Republican. So there
JFK,
have been
Lyndon, then
Lyndon Baines Johnson, Democrat,
mhm.
you know, but being old enough to remember all that and seeing the way that the former Republican presidents handled things, with the exception of Nixon, and now 45,
Eisenhower to Kennedy, Kennedy to Lyndon B. Johnson, Lyndon B.
right?
Johnson to Nixon, Nixon to Ford, the only president not to be nominated through the Electoral College, and
Exactly.
Gerald
Exactly.
Ford to Jimmy Carter to Ronald Reagan, H.W. Bush, Bill
But,
Clinton,
you know,
then
to George W., to
George
Barack,
W. to Barack,
to now
45, and then
excluding
46.
the number 45, we go on
Speaking
to number
of going
46.
back to the 44, a point that I meant to bring up earlier, I thought that before he entered office, it was a wonderful notion by President Bush as the outgoing president to call up, hey Bill, hey Jimmy, hey Dad, can y'all come to the White House? We got the next guys coming in. He's a he's a different guy. He's going to face different challenges that we have never faced before. And personally, I would like to see something similar to that done for Joe Biden if 45. I mean, I forgot we skipped the number 46. If they do something similar, because we got a little blank period in American history, uh, where they show Joe Biden the same love that they showed President Obama when he entered office, and it's going to be a tremendous work to recover the economy, restore our allies. Do you think that Joe Biden is going to increase the Supreme Court judges numbers?
From what I understand, I can't say yes or no on that. All I can understand is that he's thinking about forming a committee to look
Mhm.
at it. You know, whether that's a good thing or bad thing, who knows? However, if the Supreme Court is the governing body of all the people in the United States of America, then I think there should be more diversity in the court. Now, how that comes about, I don't know. But
'Cause this
it's a
will affect.
shame that, you know, there's no Hispanics there. Ceuta. Um, it's just not a optic view of all Americans. And I think that has to be considered. I was watching something today in terms of the indigenous population and the president of the Navajos. And excuse me, they're waiting on statistics of how Native Americans impacted the, the outcome in Arizona. And that since they are the original Americans, the only true Americans, that they need representation in the new administration, whether it be Supreme Court, one of the numerous other jobs that need to be filled, but they need a seat at the table too.
Well,
But in terms of 45 coming back to have a reunion, and you can see from what you just mentioned earlier, the friendships that were came out of the Bush Obama um, administrations. And what all the living presidents that are still living today, they all get together, especially Bush and Obama, because I know George W. got a thing for Michelle.
mhm.
But once you go black, you never go
You
back.
never feel
I
bad.
don't know,
Don't feel
you know.
bad, Miss Laurel. It is to me, I think that that is one of the most beautiful things that they showed President Bush and his father, President H.W. Bush, did.
Right.
As I was doing some research before I had wanted to have this interview with you, is that President Obama had access to all his predecessors. Friend of mine made a joke earlier, a nerd joke about. He said, "President's almost like President Obama's the Avatar. He got access to all this knowledge, all this wisdom." I said, "Yeah, I
Yep.
can see that. I can see that." And I was hoping, when that he would continue that tradition of love. And before he entered office, Hillary Clinton said, "Give him a chance." And to see how he dragged her through the mud, I felt that if he would have said, "You know what, America, President Obama, Barack, I'm sorry for the slander that I gave you. Hillary, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called you
It
Lion
ain't in
Henry."
them.
At that time, he had the opportunity to make fresh, like all the people, like all these politicians. At the end of the day, if you turn the cameras off, at the end of the day, most of these people friends. You turn the lights on, they at each other's throats. Election season, they going after each other. Election
Well,
season off.
it's been unprecedented the way the slander and stuff has gone. You know, it's been, it's just something. Well, I guess the new hip term is, well, it's 2020, and it's been such a bizarre year with COVID and all the other things that have happened in this country.
I
Um,
mean, from
that's
losing
the
Kobe
that's the
Bryant,
norm.
to Alice Trebek, to seeing the chaos of this year, and seeing to losing Chadwick Boseman, to losing so many legends and icons, to seeing, it's almost like when I woke up and I saw that, it's like I saw all the legends and icons that have passed throughout this presidency and throughout this year,
Just
just
in the
looking
last 6 months.
forward, just looking to the fact that we may have left this world under dire circumstances, but now we're going to hope. But before we talk about that hope, one of the things that a lot of people from your generation to my generation don't understand why is it that a lot of black and young men that Trump why is it that Trump appeals to them? What do you think is the allure about Trump to young African Americans?
Okay, good question. Well, it starts in Miami-Dade County, okay,
Mm-hmm.
with the Hispanic youth under 30, African Americans under 30, the machismo mindset, macho man mindset. They bought into that. And it was, in my estimation, a huge mistake. Because here's the deal, especially with African Americans, young African Americans. People died to vote. People gave up their right to vote. I've always said one of the main tools in education in the elementary schools, it should be mandatory that they view the eyes on the prize, to see what it was really like, to see what Emmett Till went through, to see what Rosa Parks went through, to see what some of the civil rights activists back in the day went through, sitting at a lunch counter, having hot coffee poured on you, having cigarettes burnt in your neck by the same people who you're voting for now. They don't get it. They don't get it. They think if I got money, I have materialistic things, if I have power of some degree, then I've made it. Bullshit. Excuse my French.
It's fine.
They need to know why.
Real.
Huh?
I said we real on this podcast. We keep
Oh,
it 100.
good. Because I've been trying to be very politically correct. But that's the problem.
Here.
they bought into that crap that, being powerful, being strong is best. And they drank the Kool-Aid and they ate some of that red meat off of the Republican plate. But as time goes on, hopefully they'll learn and they'll mature and go back and take care of their families like we're supposed to be doing, and really realize the true value of power and productivity.
Because it's a new day in America. Yes, it is.
It's got to be. It's got to be, man. I mean, that's all we have left. We've surrendered our personal vanity, our personal compassion and understanding of the fellow man and woman's plight. Because in our community, ours being the African American community, and you and I have talked about this on numerous occasions on campus, back in the yard, we don't network. We live in the crab in the barrel mentality. I got mine, so you get yours. I ain't going to help you up. And they bought into that stuff. And you've heard me say this numerous times. Trump was taking credit. In other words, he was drinking from wells he did not dig. When it comes to the economic upswing, hell, when Obama came in 208, 209, we were facing one of the most devastating financial crises in this country. Only second to the Great Depression of 1929.
He got us out. We started from the bottom. Now we here like we Drake.
There you go. But what did 45 do? He piggybacked off of that.
You can't see me economy, and it went down.
It went down.
I'm sorry.
You
I'm
know,
trying to stay a little bit positive, thinking about all the craziness that he did. Because usually I'm calm, I'm poised.
you're cool,
Listen to
man.
you talk about this, making me think about dog. He done. Oh, whew.
My thing is about fundamental simplicity. You need a solid foundation in order to build a skyscraper. If you got
But
some weak ass foundation, the penthouse is going to fall on your head.
that's the thing though. That key word, the foundation. From your generation to my generation, somebody lost the blueprint.
Yeah.
The architect just decided to go away. I don't know how to do this. Let me not consult the people.
Oh, they
And for
knew how to
me,
do it, Dwayne.
that's
They knew how
always
to do
been
it.
the biggest
What they
thing.
did was,
People don't want to listen.
they used faulty materials to build a foundation.
I
It's like
mean,
cars. In my day, you know, a car was built solidly. Now it's fiberglass. You bump it, and you got $1,000 to $3,000 worth of debt. Back in the
you're
old
right.
days, yeah, and back in the old days, if you got a little fender bender, hey, you can fix it yourself, so to speak. It's like cars today. You can't go in with a screwdriver and a wrench and fix shit. Everything's computerized, so you have to have the knowledge. You have to have the
But
technology. You have to have the wherewithal to know what you're combating. See,
that's the
Trump
thing.
never had
People
any of
not
those
built.
tools. He had never
He's
had any of those tools. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't a historian in terms of reading up on history. You know, he came in there, he's going to drain the swamp, and all he did was add more mud to the pond.
he personifies that. I hate saying this, but to me, in some aspects, I feel like he personifies the modern concept of just so you can tell me something, I'll listen and take heed, whether I like what you say or not. He'll like, no, no, you're wrong, you're
I'm,
wrong. Fake news, fake news, fake news, fake news.
I know more than the scientists. I know more than my military generals. I know more because I went to one of the most prestigious schools in the world. Bullshit. You ain't as prestigious as Harvard, Yale, Berkeley, Stanford, and many other fine institutions. And that junk about giving money to the HBC schools, hell, I work at one. You go to one. It ain't no luxury. You know what I'm saying?
For me, I look at it like this. With President Obama just being in office has done more for me than Donald Trump. The only thing that I have personally benefited from President Trump was a stimulus check. Outside of that, I cannot think of what he has done for us. He has made us realize that we need to get our act together. Matter of fact, I take that back. He has done a lot. He's made us realize that we have to get our shit together. We have to we have to be in office. And I don't mean just African Americans. I mean Latino Americans. I mean Asian Americans.
Exactly.
He has reminded people. He has reminded people it is no longer about being racist towards the white man, being racist towards the black man, being racist towards the Latino, being racist towards the Asian. We have to unify, just like how we did on 9/11, just like we have to do during any single crisis. Wake up,
Yeah,
America! A crisis has been happening for 4 years.
you're right, man. Everything you said is right on point, Dwayne. And hopefully that will come to fruition. You know, that will come to fruition. Now, let me turn the tables on you before I have to go and attend to some other things. A lot of times I've heard African Americans say, well, President Obama didn't do nothing for black people. And my response to that is simple. And I want your opinion on this, or at least think about it. If the GOP in Caucasian America thought that Barack Obama was doing more for black people than they were for them, what do you think their attitude would have been?
Well, like how I said earlier like I said earlier in the interview, and how you mentioned, the GOP stopped almost everything that President Obama did. When Obama was
Mm-hmm.
first trying to elect judges to the federal court, he got 19 out of 20 judges approved. Then they realized something. We can't let this man do something. Like I said earlier, Mitch McConnell fought back to how George W. Bush and the senators in the time throughout Bush presidency were able to work together. They wanted to make President Obama that one-term president. They
Mm-hmm.
realized this: if we let this man get away with what he wants and get these things passed, he's going to do so much. It's going to be great. Black people are going to get what they are going to get so much stuff. We have to stop this.
Yeah, we have to. And it will be,
And
hopefully, and some of those 70 million who voted for Donald Trump, you have to
and
bring
that's
them along. You got to
and
bring them
that's
along.
and that's the
That's the key.
real $1 billion question. If President Obama would have went out and said, you know what, I'm about to pour thousands and thousands of money into the black community, Mitt Romney would be president. I have nothing against Mitt Romney.
No, I don't either.
I'm just saying that Mitt Romney would be our president right now due to the fact that they would have realized, this got to stop. One term. This is it. After this, we got to stop him, and that's the thing. What do you
Oh,
expect a man to do when he has the government against him? There's only so many executive orders that he can get. Keep in mind,
that's right.
he barely got Obamacare
Well,
passed, and
I'm glad you mentioned that.
I do know some individuals who weren't happy about it. But
Well, let me
I'll
tell you
turn
a
it
little
over.
bit about that, and then we'll conclude.
Hmm.
Mitt Romney was governor of Massachusetts when Barack Obama and Joe Biden and their committee were searching to see what was the best form of health care. And because Mitt Romney, as governor of Massachusetts, really implemented the ACA, which is now known as Obamacare. Obama, that was the template for Obamacare, what Mitt Romney did in Massachusetts. Because I was living in Boston at the time when that came to fruition and how that helped the people of Massachusetts in terms of their health care. So that's where the origin, that was a genesis for Obamacare, the American Cares Act, came from Mitt Romney as governor of Massachusetts. But I firmly believe in what you said. He would be president today. And everything we've talked about for the last hour would just be not recorded, so to speak, because it wouldn't
Recorded.
exist.
Right,
You know?
most definitely. I was gonna keep this 30 minutes, but as we always talk, we always go for an hour or more. Well,
Yeah, we
hopefully
do.
be able to, yeah, we'll be able to catch up, talk next time. Good
Yep.
people, let us know what y'all thought. We'll be watching, waiting, and responding. So tune in next time.
Dwayne, thank you for the opportunity, man. It's good to see you. Give my best to your people. And I can't wait, or hopefully, I felt bad for the brothers and sisters in Mars who didn't get to have the, graduation that they worked so hard for 4 years. But it is what it
Hopefully, the
is.
president of the school will let you know they got to graduate on the yard. But
Yep.
hopefully, when all this cools down, hopefully Moco will do something wonderful for the people. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do as we
Yeah, me.
continue to make Morris good, as we continue to make Morris greater and greater, and as we make America great and more unified. This is the
Right.
Revelation Podcast.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. God bless you and hope to see you soon. Peace.